Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to Movie Goodness, where we examine life through cinema here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and we have arrived to my favorite movie season of every year, and it is, of course, the summer movie season. The summer movie season is when we get all of the blockbusters, all of the uh, uh, action movies, the comedies, these screwball comedies. We get just science fiction film, all of the big blockbuster films that are event films, popcorn movies, if you will. This is my favorite. I love the summer movie season. Now, as of late, and I say as of late, maybe the past 10 years, maybe, you probably can go back further than that. The summer movie season has not really popped like it used to back in my day, but it's still good. You get your superhero films, your comic book films that come out, and we got a couple that come out this year in the summer movie season. And uh, back in when I was a teenager or a young child, you'll get these out of the box type movies, movies where you see comedic actors in action films that you never expected to see them in, and stuff like that. These comedy films where you get a plethora of cameos that you weren't expecting. It was just something about the movies that came out during the summer that were super, super exciting. And I can honestly say this year's lineup of summer movie films feel that way. It feels like we're going back to formula in a sense. We're getting some gems this year. And when I say that, it's a diverse list of films. It's not just action movies. It's not just comic book movies. There are all type of films that are coming out this summer season, and it's exciting, man. It's something for everyone. Not just in theaters either. There are a couple that are on Netflix and other streaming services. And I decided, since the summer movie season is quote unquote kicking off next week on May the 3rd, which is crazy too, because normally it will be what's the holiday? I think Memorial Day, the end of May. That normally kicked off the summer movie season, but this year and for the past few years, it's been pushed back so far, and that's because of the log jam. There's so many movies coming out, people trying to get some distance between themselves and other films that are coming out to try to capitalize on the box office, and I get it. So I've decided that we are going to preview the summer movie season, all of the films that here on the KB Radio Network we're excited for. And these are the films that I will be in the theater to watch in in one way or the other. Now I'm committing myself to all of these movies, and I wrote down so many. I was like, man, I don't know what bill is gonna go unpaid for the next 3 months, but I gotta find a way in the theater to check out all of these films, and I am super excited. So we're gonna start on May the 3rd, and we're gonna go to the end of August. That is the official or unofficial summer movie season. So let's not prolong it. Let's jump right in because we have a lot of films to cover on today's episode. So beginning on Friday, May the 3rd, we kick off the summer movie season with The Fall Guy. And look, man, they had me at Fall Guy. I'm a huge fan of the old TV show back in the day with Lee Majors. I loved The Fall Guy. I remember having the toy, the truck that he drove on a TV show that I think it was a Ford. And I used to, set up a little ramp for the little thing and just jump, do all type of stunts with it. And I just loved that show. I loved that show. And for years, I always wondered why they never made a movie on the Fall Guy. Why they never based a movie on the Fall Guy? I mean, that is prime cinema there. That is a property that is tailor made for the big screen. Well, we had to wait a few years, but the wait is over. The Fall Guy comes out on May the 3rd, and this film stars Ryan Gosling, fresh off of his just magnetic role in Barbie as Ken. Nonetheless, he stars alongside of Emily Blunt, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Winston Duke, and the beautiful Hannah Waddingham. And the premise of The Fall Guy follows Cole, a battered and past his prime stuntman, finds himself working on a film set with Tom Ryder, a famous actor for whom he had doubled long ago. When Tom goes missing in the film, which is being directed by Jodie, played by Emily Blunt, Cole's ex-girlfriend, in her directorial debut, is in danger of being shut down. Cole volunteers to find Tom and save Jodie's debut film. I'm all for this. In the trailers for this film, looks amazing. Stunt. I'm a huge stunt nut. I love stunt work. You know, I think if you're an avid listener to this show, you probably heard me say time and time again, practical effects and stunt work, that's my bread and butter. Special effects has its place. Don't get me wrong. I love special effects when it's used properly. But when you do things in camera, you connect to the film more. You connect to the characters more. And and of course, who would be better to direct this film is a former stuntman himself, David Leitch, who has directed some pretty good films in the past, going all the way back to the first John Wick, going to Deadpool 2, Bullet Train, Atomic Blonde, and Hobbs and Shaw. You look at those films and you look at the action and the stunts in those films, and you're like, yep, this man, this man was born to direct The Fall Guy. Every piece is properly in place for this film. I hope and pray I'm not let down. But it's only one way to find out, and that's to go check out The Fall Guy in theaters May the 3rd. Also on May the 3rd, we have a little comedy film that's dropping on Netflix. And under different circumstances, I probably wouldn't care about this movie. But I am so intrigued by it because of all who are involved with this film, and it is Unfrosted. And Unfrosted is a American comedy film where the premise is Kellogg and Post cereal compete to see if they can produce a revolutionary breakfast pastry in 1963 Michigan. Going by that log line, you're like, who cares? Who cares about about a breakfast snack? Why would they make a movie about that? Well, I don't know. I don't know why they would make this movie, but the film is starring and directed in his directorial debut, nonetheless, Jerry Steinfeld. And I'm like, okay, Jerry out here making movies now about a breakfast pastry, nonetheless. But he brought along a few friends of his. He also stars in this film with Melissa McCarthy, Hugh Grant, Amy Schumer, Max Greenfield, Peter Dinklage, Christian Slater, Bill Burr, Dan Levy, James Marsden, and a Partridge in a Pear Tree. They have a million comedians in this movie, and I'm all invested in it. And the trailer actually looked interesting. It looked funny. It's Steinfeld. I mean, if you like the show, you like Steinfeld. If you're a fan of his, so I'm interested in it. So it's worth checking out on Netflix, May the 3rd, Unfrosted. Next week on May the 10th, we get a sequel, a sequel to a revamped franchise, and it is the Planet of the Apes franchise, and this is the fourth film in this new rebooted franchise that started back in when it was 2008 or something like that. I don't even remember, but it doesn't matter. We are getting Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I have loved, well, love is strong. Love is a strong word, but I have enjoyed the new rebooted franchise of the Planet of the Apes. I I loved a few. I liked the others a lot. You know, I didn't hate any of them. I enjoyed them all. I really did. And the route they took with it, the story they told with it, it this has been a joy to watch. And so we haven't gotten a Planet of the Apes film since 2017. I really thought it was dead in the water, especially after Disney bought Fox, who owns the, well, did own the rights to the Planet of the Apes franchise. And I thought Disney probably would be like, whatever. Or maybe just do a series, which is still possible, which would be cool actually, and put it on Disney Plus. But hey, they decided to make a film, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And this go around nearly 300 years after the events of War of the Planet of the Apes, ape civilization have emerged from the oasis to which Caesar led his former apes, while humans have regressed into a pharaoh primal state. When the ape king, Proximus Caesar, armed with weapons forged from lost human technology, perverts Caesar's teachings to enslave other clans, the chimpanzee hunter Noah embarks on an harrowing journey alongside a human girl named May to determine the future of apes and humans alike. I am all in on this. I am all, I am all in on this. Who doesn't want to see a simian uprising? I want to see this in its purest form, and this actually looks, it looks like a mixture of the old like Charleston Heston Planet of the Apes films and the new rebooted version coming together. And I'm here for it on May the 10th. Also on May the 10th, talk about counter programming. I know this movie is going to just, I don't see this movie making 1 red cent in the box office. And not because it's bad or whatever, which it does look bad, but I'm interested in it because I know it's going to tick so many people off. And I'm all for it because I I'm not gonna say I don't like the individual that they poking fun at, but I think it's prime time to poke fun at the individual that they are poking fun at. And this film is not another church movie. Yes, that's the title. Not another church movie. And this film follows Taylor Perry, wink wink, who is given a mission from God himself to tell his family's story and inspire his community. What he doesn't know is the devil has plans of his own. Yes, that's the that's the premise of this film. Starring in this film, you have Jamie Foxx, who plays God, Mickey Rourke as the devil, Vivica A. Fox, Tisha Campbell, Jasmine Guy, Kevin Daniels, and written and directed by Johnny Mack. I'm curious about this movie. I don't know if I'm gonna go to the theater to see it, but I am super curious about this movie. I want to see. Actually, it's not so much the movie. I'm more interested to see the reaction from people when this movie comes out, and I don't have to wait too long. Not Another Church Movie will be released in theaters, people, on May the 10th. Moving on to the 17th of May, we have two films coming out that week that are interesting in completely different ways. first and foremost, we have If Imaginary Friends. This film is directed by John Krasinski, written and directed by him. It stars Ryan Reynolds with the voice talents of Steve Carell, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Louis Gossett Jr., R.I.P., Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, Maya Rudolph, Jon Stewart, Sam Rockwell, and A Partridge in a Pear Tree. There are so many actors in this film that are providing their voice to these imaginary friends. And the premise of If, a young girl named B gains the ability to see people's imaginary friends, referred to as ifs for short, who have been abandoned by the kids they helped. B then discovers that her neighbor, Carl, has the same ability. Together, they join forces to reunite the ifs with their former kids. This is a far cry from A Quiet Place, and that's where John Krasinski made his directorial debut. Both of the Quiet Place films, Part One and Part Two, and to go to that horror, to this kids fantasy animated thing, live action animated thing, I should say, is that's showing range, man. It's showing some real range, but it looks cute. It do look cute. If drops in theaters on May the 17th. Also on May the 17th, we're getting a horror thriller from Rennie Harlin Harlan, I should say, who I am solely missing. I miss Rennie Harlan. I really do. The dude gave us Die Hard 2. He gave us a Cliffhanger. He gave us The Long Kiss Goodnight. You know, the dude had some really good action films back in the 90s. You know, I enjoyed his work, but he doesn't work that often now. I don't know what happened, but he's directing this horror film. And look, he cut his teeth in horror. He directed one of the Nightmare on Elm Street films. I think it was Dream Child, or was it Dream Warrior? I can't remember which one he directed, but it was one of them back in the day. He also directed that horrible the Exorcist prequel, Dominion, I think it was called, but it was bad. But anyways, The Strangers Chapter 1, and I enjoyed the first Strangers. That was a creepy movie. I mean, creepy. I think Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman was the stars of that film. Boy, you want to talk about creepy. Not so much the second one. I think it was Prey by Night was the name of it. I wasn't the biggest fan of that one, but I did enjoy that. That first one was so good, and so to go down this road yet again, and this time making it a quote unquote prequel, I'm interested, man. And this is the first of a trilogy, and we're not waiting years for the trilogy to complete. They are all filmed. Chapter 1, Chapter 2, and Chapter 3 are filmed. We get Chapter 1 on May the 17th, but Chapter 2 and Chapter 3 will be released later this year. I'm assuming around Halloween or something. But they're taking a chance with this. They must have a lot of faith in it to make 3 movies back to back. That is rare. They don't even do 2 movies back to back because most studios want to see how the first film performs before they greenlight a sequel. I mean, Doom Part 1. They had to wait to see how that performed before they greenlit Doom Part 2. And we knew that it was a part 2 to that. You know, you needed to finish that story. But if Doom Part 1 didn't perform in the box office, we weren't going to get Doom Part 2. So it's rare that they film movies back to back, let alone back to back to back. And they have a lot of faith in it. We shall see. The premise of The Strangers Chapter 1, Maya drives across the country with her longtime boyfriend Ryan as the pair began a new life together in the Pacific Northwest. Along the way, their car breaks down in Venice, Oregon, and they are forced to spend the night in an isolated Airbnb. Through the night, they are terrorized by three murderous mass strangers. I'm there. Sign me up. I mean, if we get just a sliver of what we got in the original Strangers film, man, I can't wait. I just love creepy horror. Creepy horror. All that gross out horror and the monster horror stuff, they has its place. But real life horror, where stuff you can really envision happening to you, that freaks me out. And for some strange sick reason, I love to watch it. The Strangers Chapter 1 will drop in theaters on May the 17th. Jumping ahead another week to May the 24th is a film that is not only my highly anticipated of the summer, this was one of my highly anticipated films of the year. And I'm so happy that we're less than a month away from this movie. I had forgot that this was coming out in May. I thought it was coming out later this year until I was doing research for this show. And I know this is going to sound crazy. I burst into tears with joy because I was like, wait, next month? I'm only 4 weeks away from this movie? Oh, man. And look, call me crazy, call me soft. I don't care. But don't call me on May the 24th because I will be in the theater watching Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Oh, man. I think what added to the excitement of this film was Fury Road, Mad Max Fury Road, which came out in 2015, which was the best film of that year, which is one of the greatest action movies ever made. Now, a lot of people now are coming out and saying, "Oh man, it was just a 2 hour chase. It was a 2 hour long chase movie." And so that's what made it great. No, it wasn't no dialogue. It wasn't a lot of story being told. I don't care. It was so exciting to watch. And I loved every minute of it. I still watch that movie at least once a year since it's been released. I love Fury Road. And I love the character of Furiosa, who was played by Charlize Theron in that film. But this go around, being as though this is a prequel to that film, we get a younger version of Furiosa, and she's being played by Anya Taylor-Joy this go around. And this is kind of a different turn for her in this quote unquote action film. Never seen Anya Taylor-Joy in an action film, at least not to my knowledge. And so this, in a heavy action film like this, with George Miller returning, who has directed all of the Mad Max films. This is his baby. This is his property. He knows it through and through. So in George Miller, I trust. But this looks amazing. Also starring with Anya Taylor-Joy in this film, we have Chris Hemsworth. Yes, Thor himself. This time he's playing the villain people in this film. And this film is set 15 to 20 years before the events of Mad Max Fury Road. As the world falls apart, young Furiosa is snatched from the green place of many mothers and into the hands of a biker horde led by warlord Dementis. While two tyrants war for dominion over the Citadel, Furiosa survives many trials as she plots a way back home through the wasteland. Oh, man. Give me this. Give me this movie, bro. I am so excited, so hyped up, and it looks phenomenal. Will it be as good as Fury Road? I don't know. I don't know. It looks like it's going to be more story here, more jumping through time here. We getting backstory of Furiosa, flushing out her story. We really didn't get that in Fury Road, but we're going to get it on May the 24th. When Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, races into theaters. Coming out alongside Furiosa, we have the Garfield movie coming out in theaters on May the 24th. And this is an animated film. This go around Garfield, voiced by Chris Pratt, the world famous Monday hating, lasagna loving indoor cat, is about to have a wild outside adventure after an unexpected reunion with his long lost father, a scruffy street cat named Vic, voiced by Samuel L. Jackson. Garfield and his canine friend Odie is forced from their perfect pampered life into joining Vic on a hilarious high stakes heist. I'm somewhat intrigued by this. Once again, this is another one that I'm not super excited for as far as running into the theater, especially it's coming out alongside of Furiosa. It looks like that one's gonna suffer from me. Now I understand the counter programming is actually kind of genius from the studio. It's counter programming from that film, something you could take the kids to, because I don't think you can really take kids to see Furiosa, but you could take kids to go see the Garfield movie. Smart move. And plus, Chris Pratt is voicing Garfield in this film. And hey, he voiced Mario last year in the Super Mario Brothers movie. And look how bananas that movie did. So will he be lucky yet again this go around with the Garfield movie coming out on May the 24th? Our last film in the month of May comes out on Netflix, and this is from Brad Payton, who is a really interesting director, to put it kindly. He's directed some really good films, none that would knock your socks off per se, but they were good. Journey to the Center of the Earth, Rampage, San Andreas. I think it's solid. Solid is the best way to describe him, and I like his work. This time around, we get Atlas, and this is a science fiction action thriller that stars Jennifer Lopez, Simu Liu, Sterling K. Brown, and Mark Strong, and it drops on Netflix on May the 24th. The premise of Atlas: Atlas Shepard, a brilliant data analyst with a deep mistrust for AI, joins a mission to capture a rogue robot with whom she shares a mysterious past with. When plans go awry, her only hope of saving the future of humanity from AI is to trust it. It seems intriguing. It seems intriguing. The only thing that gives me pause here is Jennifer Lopez. Jennifer Lopez, God bless her, not the strongest actress in the world. And that's putting it as kindly as I possibly can. But I will try to check this out. I'm going to try to give it my undivided attention. I remember when Mother came out on Netflix a couple of years ago. Man, that was a chore. That was a chore to get through. And phew, it was horrible. But anywho's, we'll see. Maybe she can knock this out the park. I mean, she has a strong supporting cast with her here. So let's see where this goes. Atlas will drop on Netflix May the 24th. So now we mosey on to the month of June, people. And kicking off the month of June is my one and only TV show on this list. Yes, there's a TV show that drops in the summer movie season, but this looks amazing. And this is a Star Wars property. So I could not mention this show. And it looks good. The trailer looks amazing. And it is, of course, Star Wars The Acolyte. And this is a science fiction TV show that will drop on Disney Plus on May the 4th. And it stars Amanda Steinberg, Daphne Keene, Charlie Burnett, Jodie Turner-Smith, and Carrie-Anne Moss. And the premise of The Acolyte is set at the end of the Star Wars franchise High Republic era, approximately 100 years before Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. It sees a respected Jedi Master investigating a series of crimes that bring him into conflict with a former Padawan learner and reveals sinister forces. I am so looking forward to this. Star Wars need this. Star Wars need this in the worst way. It's time to get away from the Skywalker saga. It's time to get away from Mandalorian and all that good stuff. All that's fine. All that's fine. I'm not hating on that. That's what I grew up on. That's what made me fall in love with Star Wars. But there's so much more stories to tell in the Star Wars universe. And I'm glad that we're finally getting new and inventive stories within this framework. And the Acolyte looks like that type of show. It drops on Disney Plus June the 4th. I am so excited for this. They're going to drop the first 2 episodes on the 4th, and it will be week to week after that. And I'm not mad at it. Speaking of not being mad anymore, is anybody still mad at Will Smith for the slap heard around the world? Are we over it now? Because it's time to move on. It's been what, 2 years? It's time to let it go. Let it go. Let the man live his life. Well, he's starting to get back into the good graces of the public now with the help of Martin Lawrence as we dive back to the streets of Miami with Mike Lowrey and and Marcus Burnett. Bad Boys Ride or Die on June the 7th. Yes, the fourth film in this franchise. Did anybody in their right mind think that we were going to get 4 films out of this franchise going all the way back to 19 when did the first one come out? 96, 97? I don't even remember, but I know it was in the 90s. But in any event, who thought by watching that film, the first film directed by Michael Bay, mind you, that we were going to get 4 films out of this franchise? And all 4 are, well, 3. I haven't seen the 4th one yet, but all 3 of the previous films were exciting in their own right. I had my problems with Bad Boys for Life, but at the end of the day, I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was a fun, dumb movie, just like the other ones are at its core. But you watch those films for the chemistry and the camaraderie of Martin Lawrence and Will Smith. The brother relationship that they have, the love and respect that they have for one another, and how well they work together on screen. I often wondered why they never did anything else outside of the Bad Boy franchise. I think they could have, had a string of hits in other properties. But hey, if they only want to do Bad Boy films together, I'm all for it. And we're getting another one on June the 7th, Bad Boys Ride or Die. This go around, Miami detectives Mike Lowrey and Marcus Burnett investigate corruption within the Miami PD when their late captain is accused of being involved with drug cartels. But a setup turns them into fugitives, forcing them to work outside of the law in order to solve the case. Well, I mean, let's be honest. They worked outside of the law in all of the in all of the Bad Boys movies, but this time they're actually on the run with it. This is cool because it's a different story. We're not rehashing anything from 1, 2, or 3. This is a different story because we never experienced this before. This go around, along with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, we have Vanessa Hudgens returning, Alexander Ludwig returning, joining the cast, Eric Dane as the villain, and Tasha Smith replacing Teresa Randall, who portrayed Marcus' wife in the previous 3 Bad Boys films. She's not returning for this film, but Tasha Smith will be stepping into the role of Teresa Burnett. And so this should be a good one. Bad Boys Ride or Die will ride into theaters on June the 7th. Also on June the 7th, over on Netflix, we have a romantic action comedy, which is directed by Richard Linklater and stars and also co-written by Glenn Powell. And this is Hitman. And in this film, a undercover Houston police officer posed as a reliable hitman to arrest those trying to hire him until he tries to save a woman in need. Glenn Powell is becoming one of those actors. You know, he's on the rise. He is definitely on the rise here, and it looks like this is something to showcase his abilities because he's playing not different characters, but he is undercover and has different disguises and all this other stuff. So he has to play different people, so to speak. And I'm a huge fan of Glenn Powell. I liked him. I liked him in Top Gun Maverick, Anyone But You, which was a movie. You know, it wasn't the greatest rom com in history, but I liked him in it. And I just like Glenn Powell for some strange reason. And I'm excited to see him in this type of role. This isn't the first time you're going to hear Glenn Powell's name mentioned on today's list, but this will be the first time. And this will be the first time you get to see him this summer on Netflix, June the 7th, Hitman. Now, what's the summer without a Pixar film? We need a Pixar film. Last year, we had a surprise hit with Elemental. It started off slow, but it had legs. It lasted the whole summer. That movie lasted the whole summer. And this year, we're getting a sequel to one of my favorite Pixar films of all time. I absolutely loved Inside Out. Inside Out, uh, I openly cried with that movie. I'm not ashamed to say it. I openly cried watching that movie. It touched me, and I'm more than certain you know what scene. If you watched Inside Out, you know what scene it was. Oh my God, it hurt me so bad. I cannot watch that scene. I cannot watch. I have yet to finish watching Inside Out since I seen it in the theaters. It was that it tore me up, and in a good way. It wasn't bad. Like, oh my God, this is horrible. I can't watch this. No, it was beautifully done, but it was so tragic and heartbreaking. Oh, just thinking about it now, I'm about to cry. But anyway, we're getting the sequel, people. We're getting Inside Out 2. This go around, Riley is a teenager, and we know the emotions of teenagers go go through if you have teenage kids or if you're a teenager yourself or have been one. This go around, Inside Out 2 returns to the mind of newly minted teenager Riley just as headquarters is undergoing a sudden demolition to make room for something entirely unexpected. A new emotion, joy, sadness, anger, fear, and disgust, who've long been running a successful operation by all accounts, aren't sure how to feel when anxiety shows up. And it looks like she's not alone. I am so looking forward to this movie. And I'm a 40 something year old man who has anxiety. So I'm I want to see how they incorporate this into these characters and into the mind of Riley and how accurately they depict a teenager and particularly a teenage girl, because I had to go through it twice as a father of two teenage girls back in the day. And so I want to see if they get it right. Inside Out 2 will drop in theaters on June the 14th. Also on the 14th of June, we get a supernatural horror film written and directed by a Shyamalan. But no, not M. Night Shyamalan, Ashonda Night Shyamalan. Yes, the daughter of M. Night Shyamalan. She is following in her father's footsteps and directing this horror film, The Watchers. And this film stars Dakota Fanning and Georgina Campbell, who if you enjoyed the film Barbarian, which was an awesome film from a couple of years ago, she was the star of that film. They team up in this particular film, which the premise is a 28-year-old artist gets stranded in an expansive, untouched forest in the Western Ireland. Upon finding shelter, she unknowingly becomes trapped alongside three strangers who are watched and stalked by mysterious creatures every night. We'll see how this turns out. We'll see if Ashonda is like her father and want to throw twists and turns in every single film, or is she going to tell this straightforward story? And does she hold the chops that her father holds? I know a lot of people are hit and miss with M. Night, and I get it. He is hit and miss, but he's an interesting cat. For someone who directed Unbreakable and The Sixth Sense, you're not a bad director. Did he just made bad choices in a few, but Split and A Knock on the Cabin was awesome film. So I have faith in him teaching his daughter the ways of the camera. So we'll see on June the 14th, The Watchers. On June the 21st, we get a drama written and directed by Jeff Nichols, and this is The Bike Riders. This film was supposed to come out last year, but it was pushed back, and nobody knew when it was going to come out. And at one point, it wasn't on the schedule at all, but it popped up on June the 21st of this year. We're getting The Bike Riders, and this film stars Jodie Connor, Austin Butler, Tom Hardy, Michael Shannon, Norman Reedus. And the premise of The Bike Riders, set in the 1960s, it follows the rise of a fictional Chicago outlaw motorbike club seen through the lives of his members and their families. The club evolves over the course of a decade from a surrogate family for local outcasts into violent organized crime, threatening the original founder's unique vision and way of life. I'm intrigued by this because I loved Sons of Anarchy, and this got shades of Sons of Anarchy in it, and I want to see how this go. Plus the talent involved, Tom Hardy, Austin Butler. I mean, come on, man. I want to see this. I want to see this. This looks interesting. This looked like a potential awards contender at the end of the year. We'll have to wait and see. On June the 21st, The Bike Riders. I know earlier I mentioned John Krasinski in A Quiet Place films. He directed the first two films, and there was a third in the works. Well, this is the third one, and it is a prequel, but John Krasinski did not direct this one, but he did write the story for this one. But he didn't direct this one, I guess, because he was directing If. But we are getting on June the 22nd, the prequel to the Quiet Place franchise, A Quiet Place Day One. And this film stars Lupita Nyong'o, Joseph Quinn, Alex Wolff, and Sherman Hensue. And the trailer for this movie looks bananas. This looks like just the most I pray to God I'm never in this situation. This this is what this film it looks like. And it's basically the day the world went quiet. That's the log line of this film. There's no description. It don't need one. The day the world went quiet. I am so looking forward to this because I love the first two Quiet Place films. And my fondest memory of going to see the first film in the franchise, we was in the theater, me and my daughter, my youngest daughter, and we're sitting in there, and the movie is called A Quiet Place. But we were sitting behind this couple who talked the entire movie, bruh. I mean, I've never been so mad. One of the worst movie going experiences I've ever had because it killed the ambiance of the movie. It's called A Quiet Place. It's supposed to be quiet. Every little sound was supposed to be amplified, but you couldn't get into it because they yakking about the movie. You know, because I think the dude seen it already, and the girl was asking questions. You know, it was one of them. Oh, what's going on? Shut up and watch the movie. You know what's going on. It was horrible. But hopefully, hopefully I don't have that experience on June the 28th when I go see A Quiet Place day one in theaters. Now we go into the month of July, and it is the 4th of July weekend. And normally, this is when you get the biggest film of the season. This is the sweet release date where they release the big one. You know, the the one that's supposed to rule the summer. And this year, they collectively decided on July the 3rd that everybody will go see Despicable Me 4. Yes, that is the big release for this 4th of July weekend. And I get it. I know this is a huge, profitable IP. I understand all that. I know that the Minions and all of these films have been giant blockbusters, made millions upon millions of dollars for Universal Pictures. I understand. But I was expecting something bigger to come out this weekend, but that's fine. I honestly, full disclosure, I haven't watched a Despicable Me film since the second one. I guess because my kids grew out of it at that point, because that was the only reason I was going to the theater to go see it was because of them. But I didn't see the third one. I didn't watch the Minions solo film, so to speak. But I understand why this property is what it is. And look, the animation is I love the animation of these movies. And I love the character of Groot. And you know, who knows? Maybe I will sneak off and go see it on the 4th of July weekend. Obviously, there's nothing else coming out that weekend. So we'll see. Returning in this film, you have Steve Carell, Kristen Wiig, Will Ferrell, Joey Keane, Sophia Gara, and Miranda Cosgrove. And this go around, Groot, the world's favorite super villain turned anti-villain league agent, returns from an exciting, bold new era of minion mayhem alongside his wife and fellow anti-villain league agent Lucy, their three adopted daughters, Margot, Ethel, and Argus, and the newest member of the Groot family, Groot Jr., who is intent on tormenting his dad. The family is forced to go on a run when they become targeted by escaped criminal Max Lemieux and his femme fatale girlfriend, Valentina. This seems interesting. It just seems interesting, but we shall see. But I will. This movie's gonna make bananas money. We already know that every Despicable Me movie has destroyed the box office, and I understand why. Those movies are good for what they are. Despicable Me 4 will drop in theaters on July the 3rd. But in case you're too old to go watch a cartoon, in case you're too old to admit that you even like those type of movies, maybe you're old enough to remember a franchise that was started back in the 80s. A franchise that kind of spearheaded the legacy of one Eddie Murphy, and it is the Beverly Hills Cop films. And guess what? We're getting Beverly Hills Cop Axel F dropping on Netflix on July the 3rd. People, this is it for me. You had me at Beverly Hills Cop. I have nothing else to watch the 4th of July weekend. I'm not barbecuing. I'm not popping fireworks. I am sitting in front of my television and watching Beverly Hills Cop Axel F. Now, to be completely fair, to be completely honest, Eddie Murphy has been swinging and missing the last couple of movies he's put out with me. Candy Cane Lane didn't do it for me. You People didn't do it for me. But this is a character that Eddie Murphy has been playing for the better part of 40 years. I think he can get this right. Now, once again, he also played Akeem twice. And the second time he played Akeem in Coming to America was a dumpster fire. I fully acknowledge that. But I feel good about this, people. I feel encouraged about this movie. We shall see. The premise of Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F. Axel Foley has returned to Beverly Hills after his daughter Jane's life is threatened. She and Axel team up with her ex-boyfriend and his old pals, John Taggart and Billy Rosewood, to turn up the heat and uncover a conspiracy. Yes, they're returning. Returning along with Eddie Murphy, you have Judge Reinhold, John Ashton. Also, we have Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Taylor Page, Paul Reiser is returning, Bronson Pinchot is returning, Kevin Bacon is in this movie. Yes, I'm all for it. I am excited for this. I remember a few years back, they had attempted to make a Beverly Hills Cop TV show on CBS, and I saw the pilot. Was it last year? It's on YouTube. I think it's still on YouTube. I watched the pilot, and Eddie Murphy was in the show, but he wasn't the star of the show. It was supposed to be his son taking over and blase blah. I think Eddie Murphy, Axel Foley was the captain now, and I could see why they didn't to go with that show. But they've been trying to get this film off the ground for years, and we are finally going to get it on Netflix nonetheless, which I think is a perfect landing spot for this type of film. To be honest with you, Eddie Murphy hasn't released a movie in theaters in years. It's been over a decade, I think, huh? But that's fine. That's fine. That's not to say that that's bad, because Netflix, they put out some really good films. I can't wait for Axel F. on July the 3rd. Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F., the fourth film in the franchise. Let's go. Let's get it. I'm there. A couple of days later, on July the 5th, we're getting a slasher film from writer-director Ty West. And this is the third film in the X trilogy. Yes, they had X, Pearl, and this go around we have Maxine. And once again, it stars Maya Goth in the title role. And you know, those first two films shockingly were good for what they were. I really did like those two movies, X and Pearl. And so neither one of those films you would say, okay, I can't wait for the sequel. But they're not particularly set up that way. You know, they're not your conventional. This isn't your conventional trilogy. They're all connected, but they're not like direct sequels or whatever. Now, this film is kind of a sequel to X, and the premise of Maxine. After surviving a massacre in Texas, Maxine continues to pursue her dream of becoming a famous actress, all while evading the Night Stalker in 1985 Los Angeles. And that's a true story. If you know anything about the Night Stalker, they actually have a awesome documentary on Netflix about the Night Stalker. But this looks very good. It looks like it fits right into this quote unquote universe that Ty West and Mia Goth have created. Maxine will drop in theaters on July the 5th. On July the 12th, we get a romantic comedy drama, which is directed by Greg Berlanti, who is responsible for the Arrowverse that's on that, well, at least that was on the CW, along with a lot of other films, not films, the TV shows, you know, Dawson Creek, Riverdale, and so on and so forth. But this go around, he's directing this film, Fly Me to the Moon, which stars Scarlett Johansson and Channing Tatum. And in this film, during the 1960s space race between the United States and the Soviet Union, a relationship develops between a NASA director in charge of the Apollo 11 launch and the marketing specialist brought in to fix NASA's public image and stage a quote unquote backup fake moon landing. And so this looks very cute and interesting and poignant in a lot of people's eyes because a lot of people believe that the moon landing was fake. So it plays on to that. I think that's funny in a lot of ways, but this looks good. I saw the trailer last week, and man, I was like, wait, this looks very interesting. It just looks like something I would watch, and I plan to watch it on July the 12th in theaters. Fly Me to the Moon. And on July the 19th, we get a quasi sequel to a film that is a guilty pleasure of mine. And I don't know, saying it out loud, I don't think it don't warrant the guilty pleasure. I love Twister. The old film, old Jesus. I'm dating myself now, but the film that came out in the 90s that starred the late Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt. Uh, Enjoyable film directed by Jan de Bont. Steven Spielberg produced it. It was an exciting film, and for what it was, it was just fun to watch. It's a fun movie, and never did I think that we would get a sequel to Twister. It's not like Twister is going to come back. Twister 2, the return of Twisty, seeking revenge. But we are getting a sequel, Twisters, uh, which is kind of odd because the first film, Twister, had multiple twisters. But this go around, we're going to get multiple twisters and twisters. This go around, the film stars Daisy Edgar Jones and Glenn Powell. As I mentioned before, this is his second go around this summer, and this is a standalone sequel to the 1996 film. I saw the trailer, and the trailer felt like the exact same film from 1996. It didn't really feel different, but that's not a bad thing because I love Twister, and I want to see how this plays out. What's the differences here? Will they add something new to the story? This go around, the film is directed by Lee Isaac Chung. I want to see how this goes. I want to see how this plays out. Will they poo-poo on a piece of my childhood here? I hope not, because Twister is a cult classic in my eyes. Twisters will twist into theaters on July the 19th. Now, this is the movie of the summer, in my humble opinion. Why we have to wait till the 26th of July to get it, I don't know. This seemed more like a Memorial Day weekend or 4th of July weekend release, around a holiday, so it can really make an impact. Actually, to be honest with you, I don't care what date this movie came out, it's going to make an impact. This is my most anticipated film of the year. It wasn't on January the 1st of this year. It was high. It was on my list, top 5, no doubt, no doubt. But it has easily become my most anticipated film of the year. And it is none other than Deadpool and Wolverine, releasing in theaters on July the 26th. My God, people, this is words can't express how excited I am for this movie. You're getting Deadpool, who his first 2 films were awesome. The first one is regarded, in my humble opinion, as one of the best comic book movies ever made, as far as the adaptation of the character, how close to the character from the comics. We've never gotten a comic book character like that to translate from the pages of a comic book onto the silver screen and be exactly verbatim like it is in the source material. Ryan Reynolds did an excellent job as Deadpool. Deadpool 2, not as good as the first one. but it was good nonetheless. Now we're getting Deadpool and Wolverine, and playing Wolverine, returning, is Hugh Jackman. Another nugget that uh, me and millions of others thought we would never see in life again after Logan. But we have gotten him back. And from all indications, not only him, we're going to get a lot of cameos in this movie. Deadpool and Wolverine is officially, I guess you could say, the first X-Men film in the MCU, because this is the first film we're going to get Deadpool in the MCU proper. First film we're gonna get Wolverine in the MCU proper. We did get Patrick Stewart in that cameo in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So this isn't the first time we have seen X-Men in the MCU, but this feels like a love letter to all of the 20th Century Fox X-Men films. Uh, Kind of putting it to bed, if you will. Uh, you know, all those movies, for better or worse, we're gonna put them to bed, and we're starting anew in the MCU. The premise of Deadpool and Wolverine: the TVA, a bureaucratic organization that exists outside of time and space and monitors the timeline, pulls Wade Wilson, Deadpool, from his quiet life and set him on a mission with Wolverine that will change the history of the MCU. The two trailers they released for this movie got me so hyped up. I don't want to see another clip, still, nothing. I don't want to see nothing else. I'm sold. I'm sold. I don't need to see nothing else from this movie. I don't want to be spoiled. I want to go to the theater and just soak in all of this goodness that we're going to get. And I'm telling you, this is going to be the movie of the year as far as comic book blockbuster films. This is also not only the first time we're getting Deadpool and Wolverine in the MCU, this is the first R-rated film in the MCU. And it is R. I mean, it is R. The trailer is R. So I can only imagine what the rest of this movie is going to look like. I can't wait. On July the 26th, we will finally get Deadpool and Wolverine in theaters in the MCU for your viewing pleasure. Rounding out the summer movie season in the month of August, we have a few more releases. Like I said, this is a jam-packed summer, people. This August kicks off with a adaptation of a children's book from 1955 that I have never heard of, but it looks it looks it looks cute. It is a live action animated fantasy film, Harold in the Purple Crayon. And this film stars Zachary Levi, Little Rel, Jermaine Clement, and Zoe Deschanel. And the premise of Harold in the Purple Crayon, the film serves as a sequel to the original book, where after the adventurous Harold grows up with a magical purple crayon and draws himself off the book's pages and into the physical world, he finds that he has a lot to learn about real life. Yes, this looks like a nice little family film. And, you know, summertime, kids out of school, want to take them to a movie. Probably can't take them to go see Deadpool and Wolverine because of all of the F-bombs and cocaine jokes that they have in it. And so you need something. You need some counter programming. You will get Harold in the Purple Crayon, which will be released in theaters on August the 2nd. On August the 9th, we have yet another video game adaptation. And so far, and I will say the last 2 years, we've been getting some really, really top-notch, awesome video game adaptations. Even though that used to be the laughing stock of Hollywood, these video game adaptations. But after The Last of Us, after the Super Mario Brothers movie, after Fallout, we have gotten some really good video game adaptations. Sonic the Hedgehog. They've been on a roll lately. So will that roll continue on August the 9th when we finally get the release of Borderlands? Yes, based off of the video game series of the same name. This film has been pushed back so long. You know how long ago they filmed this movie? I think 5 years ago. I think 5 years ago was the first time I heard them filming this film, and they couldn't find a distributor. Uh, I don't know what it was just a lot of mess. It was this was a troubled production, but you know the talent involved, the talent involved gives me hope, but that's not always the answer. But it still gives me hope. Borderlands stars Cate Blanchett, Kevin Hart, Jack Black, Edgar Ramirez, Bobby Lee, and Jamie Lee Curtis, and is directed by horror icon Eli Roth, who has given us some of the most goriest body horror films you ever want to watch. But Borderlands is based off of the best-selling video game. This all-star action adventure follows a ragtag team of misfits on a mission to save a missing girl who holds the key to unimaginable power. We'll see. We'll see. I'm, I'm not encouraged by it being as though it was, been on the shelf for years and no studio had any faith in it to pick it up, and not even a streaming service. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, Cate Blanchett is a multiple Academy Award winner. I can't see her being a part of something horrible like this. But I'm just hopeful. I'm hopeful. The trailer looked interesting. The property is an interesting property, even though I wasn't a big fan of the video games. I think I played it once, and it was all right, but I never was like, oh man, Borderlands. That wasn't my thing. But we'll see how this movie adaptation goes, and we'll see on August the 9th, Borderlands. Also on August the 9th, we get a psychological horror film, Kachu. And this is from the studio Neon, who has released some very interesting horror films, thrillers over the past few years. In this go around, this film is directed by Tillman Singer, and it stars Dan Stevens, Hunter Schafer, who we all know from Euphoria. And the premise of Kachu: a 17-year-old girl is forced to move with her family to a resort where things are not what they seem. Now, that seems like a simple premise, but the trailer will wreck you. That trailer creeped me all the way out. And it has my undivided attention. I want to see how this film plays out, what's all in store for the characters in this film. Can't wait to see it on August the 9th, Kachu. Also on August the 9th, in the year of the Shyamalans, we talked about M. Night Shyamalan's daughter directing her first film, The Watchers, which come out earlier in the summer. Well, Dad was not going to be outdone. He has a film coming out on August the 9th, Trap. And Trap is a mystery thriller which stars Josh Hartnett. And this film, once you hear the premise, will probably sound so silly and dumb, but because it did to me. And then I saw the trailer. But the premise of Trap: a serial killer named The Butcher joins his daughter at a concert for pop star Lady Raven, but the butcher realized the concert is a trap set by the police to catch him. That seems so basic in whatever, but the trailer looked so good. And look, M. Night Shyamalan, for all of his faults, all of the ladies in the water, for all of the the village and the happening and After Earth and God forbid the last airbender, he knows thriller. He knows mystery. He knows twists. And this looks like it has that. And Josh Hartnett, who is kind of on his resurgence lately. He was a supporting character in Oppenheimer just this past year. And Josh Hartnett is always a really good actor. Back in the day. And I say back in the day, but it wasn't that long ago. He's not an old man now. I think he's around my age. And I definitely don't consider myself old, but you know, it's good to see him back in the spotlight. And this looks like a very interesting film. And to learn that Josh Hartnett is the serial killer. You learn that in the trailer. I'm not spoiling nothing. It's in the trailer. You find out, he finds out about the cops are laying this trap for the serial killer and blah, blah, blah. The looks on his face, his acting in those moments. And I know it's a trailer and it's probably cut a certain way to make him look that way, but it just looks amazing. It looks like he's about to give one of his best performances. And I am super excited. Hopefully M. Night Shyamalan will knock this out the park just like he knocked Split out the park. Trap will drop in a theater near you on August the 9th. Moving on to August the 16th, we dive back into the world of the xenomorphs. Yes, people, the 7th installment of the Alien franchise, Alien Romulus. I, I'm looking forward to this in such a major way for so many reasons that I don't have time to get into. But I am so excited for this. Initially, this was going to be released on Hulu, but after test screenings and the excitement for this film, they decided to drop it in theaters. Not going to make the mistakes that they made, they being Disney and 20th Century Studios, by releasing Prey a couple of years ago on Hulu, which was a prequel to Predator, and it was excellent, and it would have been awesome on the big screen, and they knew they messed up, and so they felt they're not going to mess up this time with the Alien film, and I'm all for it. And going by reactions from uh film festivals where they streamed this film, they said this is probably one of the bloodiest, goriest alien films ever. And I'm not mad at it. This film is directed by Freddie Alvarez, who has given us the reboot or the remake of Evil Dead a few years ago, which was awesome. He also directed Don't Breathe, which was awesome. And this go around, he's diving into Alien Romulus. And this film is set between Alien, which was released in 1979, and Aliens, which was released in 1986. So this is a sequel to Alien and a prequel to Aliens. And the story concerns a group of young space colonists who, while scavenging a derelict space station, come face to face with the most terrifying life form in the universe, the xenomorphs. Bro, that trailer, and it was a teaser that I saw. That teaser trailer looked terrifying. I am all in on Alien Romulus. I'm all in on this. If they do half of what Prey did for the Predator franchise, this is great stuff. And I look, I've been looking for a good alien film since Aliens, since 1986. We haven't gotten a good alien film since then, in my humble opinion. And so, well, Alien 3 was all right. I did like Alien 3. But Haven't seen a good one since. You know, the least said about Alien versus Predators, the better. And so let's see how Alien Romulus tickle our horror bone on August the 16th in theaters. Moving on to August the 23rd, we are getting another superhero film, but not your conventional superhero. No, there's no capes and shields or armored suits. No, we're getting The Crow. Yes, The Crow. And this is the fifth installment in the Crow franchise. And this is serving more of a reboot or a remake of the 1994 film The Crow, which starred the late Brandon Lee, who passed away on the set of that film. Taking over for Brandon Lee this go around is Bill Skarsgård, who we all know as Pennywise the Clown from It and many other films. But this go around, the film is directed by Rupert Sanders, who I think is a solid director. He directed Snow White and the Huntsman, and Ghost in the Shell. He's a very visual director and very good. I'm not going to say he's awesome or he's excellent at his craft, but he's solid. He's a solid director, and I think he fits this franchise in a way. This movie has been in development hell for so long. I mean, they've been trying to get a Crow reboot off the ground since I'm gonna say early 2000s, but it could have been sooner than that or earlier than that, I should say. You know, so many names were attached to it. Bradley Cooper at one point was going to be the Crow. Luke Evans, Jason Momoa was going to be the Crow. So many people had signed on to be the Crow, and so many directors had signed on, and none of them got it off the ground. But we're finally getting it off the ground with Bill Skarsgård and Rupert Sanders directing. And in case you don't know what The Crow is all about, uh, a murdered musician who is resurrected to avenge the deaths of himself and his fiance. So that's it in a nutshell. That's how the first film is, but it was just so unique and good. The Crow is one of my favorite films from the early 90s or mid 90s when that film came out, and especially with all of the uh I don't know what can I how can I describe the turmoil, I guess you could say, surrounding Brandon Lee's death on the set of that film, but that film still went on and was excellent in my humble opinion. Yeah, is it dated? Yeah. Yeah, this probably needed to be rebooted. That's why they've been trying for so long. So let's see how this go with Bill Skarsgård holding down the mantle. The Crow will finally fly into theaters on August the 23rd. And last but not least, to round out the summer movie season, on August the 30th, we get a film that was initially intended to be released last year, so much so that the trailer dropped maybe a year ago today, around this time last year. And it is Craven the Hunter. Yes, based off of the comic book character of the same name. This film is part of the Sony Spider-Man universe that doesn't have Spider-Man in it. Yes, it's in that same universe with Morbius and Venom and Lord have mercy, Madam Web. It's in that universe, so it's we'll see. I like the character of Kraven the Hunter from the comic books. Adversary for Spider-Man in the comic books. This film will have Aaron Taylor Johnson as Kraven, and not the first choice I would go with, but going by the trailer, he looks cool, but he doesn't radiate Kraven. And it looks like they changed a lot of stuff from the comic books, of course, but that's Sony. I don't know what Sony be doing when it comes to adapting these comic book characters. It makes no sense to me because they making the villains anti-heroes, and it takes the allure away from Spider-Man's villains. You know what I'm saying? So I don't understand it, but this does look cool. Starring alongside Aaron Taylor Johnson, you have uh Ariana DeBose. You also have Russell Crowe in this film, who plays Craven's father. Let's see. Let's see how this go. I'm optimistic. This also looks like it's R-rated as well, so maybe that would help it. I never thought that a rating would help a film, but when you look at the PG-13 films in this Sony Spider-Man universe without Spider-Man, they're trash. So let's see how they do with an R-rated version. And Craven is the right film to do that. So we shall see. Craven the Hunter will stalk its prey in theaters on August the 30th to round off the summer movie season. And I just realized that Aaron Taylor Johnson bookends the summer movie season. The Fall Guy, he's in the Fall Guy, which kicks off the summer movie season, and Craven the Hunter ends the summer movie season. So Aaron Taylor Johnson will bookend this summer. Let's see how he do. If I had to choose, I think the Fall Guy will have a better shot of being successful. But hey, crazier things have happened in the multiplex. I want to know, which film are you excited for this summer? Is it Deadpool and Wolverine? Is it Twisters? Is it Bad Boys Ride or Die, Fall Guy, or Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, or whatever? I would like to know what's your most anticipated film of the summer. I am excited for all of them, but if I had to pick, it's Deadpool and Wolverine. That is number one. Coming in a close second will be Furiosa. But every movie that I listed here, I am excited for one reason or another. So I'm super excited, but I want to know your excitement level. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. Also, look me up on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, don't forget to subscribe and like this video on YouTube. Search for the KB Radio Network channel over there on YouTube and give us a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. I would also greatly appreciate the 5 stars, the likes, the sharing, the downloads on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, wherever you are currently listening to movie goodness here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this deluxe size movie goodness episode where we previewed the summer movie season of 2024. I want you all to know that I love you. Continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.